All right, welcome to our second call in Jumpstart, your weight loss in midlife. So I'm so glad that you're here. I know we're going to have probably a couple more join in on and as we go, but I'm going to take a little bit of a different step today based on some questions that I've had. I'm going to share my screen here too. Based on some questions that I've had this week, because I want to make sure that that we are all on the same page. Now, next week, if you look at the schedule for these weeks, next week was going to be like Q&A, making sure we're on the same page. So what we're doing this week is that instead. So I realized that based on some of the questions that that a lot of you had for me, that I was not as clear as what I needed to be last week on the call when some of the questions were posted. And so there's been some confusion within what do I eat? How much do I eat? Is this good to eat? I thought that this wasn't good. I thought that we weren't supposed to have that, but this is a picture in the group. And so I want to take this before it goes any further and clear up any misconceptions. And I completely own the fact that there was that it was my inability to fully be clear and decisive around certain things. So we're going to take this and really go through the food, and we're going to go through like what is like really allowed and what is not allowed on this. And this is the first 4 weeks. So this is what I did to lose the weight, to regulate my hormones, and to fix my metabolism. Now, if there's any, and when I say processed foods, what I mean by processed foods is a lot of things in packages, right? That if you're looking at the label and there's like modified food starch in there, and there's like all these things in there, right? It can get a little gray in that though too, because somebody could be like, well, a can of coconut milk that I posted today could be considered processed because it's in a can, right? But we want to look at the ingredients. It's just coconut milk. But if you're getting keto, quote unquote, keto foods at the grocery store, that's not what we're doing here. We're eating real food because we're balancing out your hormone. We're doing a reboot basically to your endocrine system, which we covered last week. And this is the only way that you're going to be able to do that. Deviating from the food list will not get you the results that you are here to get. And I want to be incredibly clear on this. Now, does this mean that you have to eat this way the rest of your life? This is what our brains go to, like, oh shit, like, don't tell me, don't restrict. No, but it has to these first 4 weeks. You're here for a reason. You're here to jumpstart your weight loss. You're here to get to the root of what's going on. Now, if this was just for a change on the scale, yeah, just do some low carb. It doesn't matter. You could do processed stuff. This is not that. So I want you to get that out of your brains right now, because it's not that. This is fixing our metabolism so that we can regulate our hormones so that we can lose weight. Because that's how you're going to be able to actually work on keeping it off. This is supporting your body, your hormones, your brain. This is nourishing you from the core. It's not just like, let's do low carb so that I can see a result on the scale. That is why we have to really fine tune this in these 4 weeks. So what I'm going to do, because I completely own the fact that I was not clear on some things, and it's been brought to my attention with questions that have come up for the week. And I want to go over those questions, but I want to go over this food because it is essential that we are on the same page. And I'm going to say this too. If there is any confusion at all in what do you need to eat, we have to get on a call, schedule a session with me so that you can be successful in this group, because I know without a shadow of a freaking doubt that you can be successful in this if you follow this. I know that's 100%, 100%. So I want to make sure we're on the same page. So, so because of that though, I'm going to extend this group for an extra week at no extra cost, no nothing for you. And we're going to take this as like, okay, last week we played and we practiced. Yay, great. And some people were more on track than others, and that's okay. But I'm going to extend this for an extra week because I really want to see you guys get results. I'm invested in this. I'm giving you guys the tools, but I want to make sure that we're using these tools in the best way that we can so that you get the results that you signed up for. How does that sound this week so far? Sound good? Okay. Yes, Sandra.
I think it sounds awesome.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm just going to go through the foods here just a little bit that I gave you last week in the document. And if you go in and if you're having a hard time, that was one of the things too, people were like, where do I find the food things and whatnot? If you go into the group, use the search icon. There's a little like magnifying glass on the top right. Use that. And if you just type in meals, like if you don't save this on your, first of all, you can save it on your computer, but it's going to be ever evolving as well too, because I'm going to be adding recipes on here. I'm going to have a challenge in this group as far as like having like certain ingredients. I don't have it all planned out yet, but certain ingredients. And I want you to like take those ingredients, and whoever can make a meal that's going to like fit in with this is going to be on like the next Jumpstart group. And then you also like win like a free session with me as well too. So, anyway, so we're going to have a challenge like that in here too. So it's going to be ever evolving. But if you're needing to find this, type in that search icon. If you go to the Facebook group, right here, I can just show it to you. Actually, I think I'm on there. Can you see my Jumpstart page? Okay. So let me move my, all right. Where is it? Right here. Do you see this? The search icon? It's up by those three little dots. Use that. Click that. Do meals. Boom, right here. It comes up, okay? So if you ever lose it, type in meals in the search icon and you'll find it again. You'll see if there's any like alterations to it, if there was any, extra meals added to it. So first 4 weeks, we're starting again. Yay, rebooting, restarting today, okay? We get an extra week in the Jumpstart class. So the goal is hitting our fat numbers. We got to hit the fat numbers, okay? And if you have any confusion around that, it's going to I'm just going to quickly go over this. We went through this through the whole call last week, but we're going to this page. This is drberg.com. We're typing in, figure out your weight in kilograms first. It's the first thing you do. Say you weigh 140 pounds. All right. So right here, like this is an example, right? 140 pounds, and in kilograms, that is, it's all in the group, but let's see here. 140 kilograms, 63. So that means if I weigh 140 pounds, I need 63 grams of protein, because that's how much I weigh in kilograms, which equals the amount of protein that I need for the day. If I weigh 200, I need 90 grams of protein. Okay. So that is how you find out your protein needs. It is your weight in pounds in kilograms. It's an easy Google search, or use the site that I have in the group. And then you come to this page and then you enter in your information. 42, 5'7", 140. Always pick the activity level less than what you think you are. Okay. So little to no exercise, even if you walk every day, little to no exercise. How many net carbs? We're going to get through this. We're not looking at net. That was the other question I had this week. Net versus total. Do not pay attention to net. So we're just, yes. We don't want to go over 15 grams, but we don't need to get 15 grams either. That's just kind of a buffer when you're focusing on fat and protein. Sometimes there's foods like eggs. If you have 4 eggs a day, that's probably going to be like 2 grams of carbs total, because there might be like a half a gram of carb, right, in each egg. So it's basically that. This is not an invitation though, to have a bunch of vegetables, a bunch of fruit, right? To fill up that 15 grams of carbs. Does that make sense? You do not have to do not feel like you have to meet that 15 grams at all. Most days I get 8 or under. It's rare if I get over 10. The more carbs you bring in a day, the longer it's going to take to reboot your system. This is for 4 weeks. Remember, your brain's going crazy. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. She's going to tell me that I can never have fucking carbs again. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for these 4 weeks, you do not need 15 carbs. This is only kind of like a catch-all. Like if you're like, you don't need a side of vegetables with your meals. You don't need anything like that. You don't. In fact, it's going to derail you if you do. Because vegetables you can listen to, and I'm going to put another podcast out on some of this stuff, but there's a lot of anti-nutrients in vegetables. The whole fill your plate with color, the color, like the all the colors of the rainbow of the vegetables, right? That's like this big thing, right? That'd be great if we could assimilate all of those, but we can't. They're not bioavailable to us. They're not. But guess what? All of our macro and micronutrients are met with meat. That is the truth. And there are studies on that. There's research backing that up. We've had over 100 years of faulty research and facts and everything else around getting us to be afraid of meat and afraid of fat. And I have podcasts on this that I can link in here. I'm not going to go into it in here because if you're in this group, you're wanting to know how to lose weight. The why is a whole other section. If you want to know the why, I have podcasts on that so that you can feel more confident. Because I understand that there's some fear around this for people because we've been so indoctrinated for so many years and so many generations. That is bad. Right? I asked somebody recently, they have some issues around just some health issues, right? Like, why do you think that is? Well, and their response was too many bad fats. It's not true. And I put a post in the group today. It is chronically elevated insulin. Comes from carbs. It comes from fruit. It comes from vegetables. It comes from processed foods and the unnatural fats that are in processed foods mixed with the sugar, all the processed sugars in the ingredients. That is what causes all of our health problems. It doesn't matter if you got autoimmune disorders. Doesn't matter if you got elevated blood sugar, right, in the morning. If you have, or most Americans are actually some level of insulin resistance. Most Americans, because most Americans eat around 300 carbs a day. That's just standard. That's just normal. So when we're dropping this, we're dropping then that blood sugar, which is going to help us elevate or level out our insulin levels, which is going to help us to balance our hormones and start to heal and reverse some of our diseases. High blood pressure, it's insulin. Autoimmune, any kind of itis, any kind of joint pain. We've got to bring down that. And this is how we're doing it. This is how we're doing it. So you do not need 15 carbs a day, but we live in a carb addicted world. We just do. We just do. And we are all addicts. I'm the same way. I'm putting myself in this category, sugar addicts. Like we're like, oh my gosh, don't take away my fruit. Don't take away my, because we've been so indoctrinated, right? Don't take away this. But the less you have and the more fat you have, the less cravings are going to be. Because I know some of you are like, oh, I still have some cravings. Normal, totally normal. I guarantee you though, if you don't try to get those carbs in, and if you really focus on that fat, you're going to notice your carbs starting to go down or your cravings to go down. So, all right, protein. So here's the thing, target weight, right? 130. So you put in, what did we say? Like 60 grams of fat, I think, or I'm sorry, 60 protein for 140. So we're going to change the percentage to get to that. Right? I think it was 64 or 60. Let's just say it's 60. Okay. Say like, okay, my weight at say you're 140 pounds, kilograms, that's 60, right around 60 kilograms. Now I enter 60, because that's how much protein I need. I'm going to enter that in here. I'm going to make sure this is not over 15. I do not need to get to 15. In fact, it's better if I do not get to 15 a day. But this is like just allowing for some when you're eating certain other proteins and some fats, like cream cheese, for instance. You know, things like that sometimes have like a half a gram, maybe 1 gram in it, but it's mostly fat. So this is just allowing for the spillover of fats and proteins that you choose, but not to choose carbs. Put in the chat if that makes sense, or if it doesn't, because if it doesn't, it's not clear. I want to make sure I clear that up, because that's a huge thing. So this is automatically now going to give your fat in grams, 133, right? So if you're 140 pounds, you're 5'7". This is roughly what your day is going to look like. Now, your goal is to meet, I want you to write down 133 grams or whatever yours is, right? Yours is going to be different. 133 grams of fat I need to meet every day. And I need to get 60 grams of protein every day. And honestly, cross out the freaking carbs. Just don't even worry about the carbs, because you don't need to get to 15. If you just focus on the fat and the protein, so, all right, let me just make sure it makes sense. Very minute. Yes, makes sense. Okay. Can you take supplements? Beef organs? Beef organs are fine. Irish sea moss and fulvic, yes, because those don't have anything in there. So yes, I mean, if you're on medications from your doctor, if you got, that's between, like, I'm talking foods here. So just want to make that clear as well too. So, all right, now we're going to do.
Hey, Aaron, I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
When I do mine, because you've said we need more fats than protein, right?
Yes.
But when I do this on the calculator, my grams of protein are actually more than my grams of fat. The percentages are different. Like it's 30% protein, 66% fat.
Okay, here's what I would do then. If it's like that for you, I totally get that. If it's like that for you, if you're in that predicament as well too, this is a really great question. If you're in that predicament, what I would do is go up to 80 fat and 20 protein. As long as you have fat grams. So if you're looking at yours and you have more fat than protein, perfect, beautiful. But if your calculations, right? Because sometimes like the more we have, like it's just it will change, because then the more protein than like what it'll say, because of what we like weigh in kilograms, right? So
Right.
if you're like that, where your fat and protein look very similar, or if your protein is more, make sure the percentages are 80 protein, or 80 fat, 20 protein.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah. So then carbs, do I do any carb? I mean, I know we're not doing any carbs, but do I calculate the carbs in there? Do I put in the 15 carbs? Because 80-20 equals 100%.
Because what?
Because the 80 and 20 is 100% in fat and protein.
Yeah,
So do
just
I,
0 for right now for carbs then.
okay. All right.
And then just focus on that. And if you all want to do that, that would be fine too. I just know that sometimes it's a little spillover between, and then some people get freaked out like, but there's 2 carbs in this. Like, oh no, it's like it's at 0, you know? So I just want everybody to understand that. Like, and I want it to be clear.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that clear? Does that help? Okay. So what does your fat change to when you do that and your protein?
Yeah, it changes it to fat is 142 grams a day and protein is 80 grams a day.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's a big difference from what it was before. So,
Perfect. Yes.
okay.
I'm so glad we're doing this week. This is so good. So if you find yourself in that, change it just to 80, 20.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have that situation too? Where your protein is close to your fat? Like say you have 120, 130, 140 fat, but then maybe you have like 110 protein. Is that Josie? Does that happen to you?
Well, that's what my numbers are, but I lost 5 pounds this week, so I
Awesome.
think I'm also big, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. And here's the thing too. So if you notice, here's another little tip. If you notice, like, and congratulations on that too. That's awesome. So if you notice though too, like if you're in that situation, if anyone's in that situation, you notice a stall at all, like where you're like, oh, like that's when you want to then do that 80-20. If you notice your protein is almost close to your fat, because the more fat you have in your diet and less moderate protein, right? And it'll adjust as we go down in weight, it will adjust. It's just that when we're starting out at that level, we just have to like kind of, finagle it a little bit.
And is it better to maybe come in a little bit low on your protein, but make sure you get to your fat if you're a little
Yes.
bit off on a day or whatever? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when we're starting this. Because it's just, I want you to I'll write down this. Fat will heal me. Write it down. Jackie, stop and write down. Just kidding. I just see you walking. But fat will heal me. And when you get like, well, I don't know, or like whatever, no, fat will heal me. Put it a screensaver on your phone. Put it something like fat will heal me. Set an alarm every morning. You can, if you have an Apple or iPhone or whatever, you can do little tag on your phone. Like every time, fat will heal me is a reminder. Fat will heal me, because literally we are up against years and years of conditioning that fat is dangerous. We have to reprogram that. But it's natural fats, butter, tallow, fats in the meats, right? Fatty cuts of steak, ribeye, bacon. And not everybody eats pork here. That's fine. You don't have to eat pork. You don't have to, like, just pick a meat. If you just want one meat, pick a meat. That's fine. They're all good for you, and you're going to get all the nutrients. That's the thing too. Meat is not going to give me a heart attack. Fatty meat will not give me a heart attack. But if I eat it with processed foods and lots of sugar, don't blame the meat for what the sugar did. Don't blame the fat for what the processed foods and the sugar has done. That's why we cannot eat processed foods right now. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. So, all right. So, okay. Let's see here. Gallbladder. I know a lot of you do not have a gallbladder. Totally fine. You can still do this. Here's the thing. Get some ox bile. If you're ever having a hard time digesting, you can get it on Amazon. Dr. Berg's formula is a good formula. There's another one, something Woods, WOODS. There's like 2 on there that I would recommend. I don't know the other ones, so because I haven't used the other brands of things. But if you have a brand that you like, that's fine. Just ox bile. It's gonna, just get ox bile if you have a hard time assimilating fats. So one thing too, if you do not have a gallbladder, do not sit down at a meal and eat 50, 60, 70 grams of fat. Because you're going to feel very uncomfortable. Because here's what happens. I'm just going to tell you a little bit. Here's what happens. Gallbladder collects the bile from the liver. Gallbladder breaks down fat. No gallbladder, it's really hard to break down fat. So what the liver does is secretes, like literally drops bile out of the liver. So there's still bile there. Your body's still making bile. It's just there's no place to store it because the gallbladder is gone, right? So if you're eating a ton of fat at one sitting, imagine like this dripping of bile with no storage in there to break it all down. It's not going to, and it has to work its way through, and it can be really uncomfortable. So if that has happened to you, and if you need a way around it, just eat smaller fat, like eat maybe 4 times a day, get in your fat, still get in your fat, but just break it down. Say you need 120 grams a day, break it down to 30 grams in each meal. And if you're still having that issue, maybe you're going to have to break it down a little bit more. Actually, if you have that issue, then you need to set up a session with me, because we have to fine tune these things. The more health issues, if you guys have, the more one-on-one and individualization you need. And that's just the reality of it. And that's going to benefit you for the best in this program. So it can support you in the highest way, because it's what's going to work for, like, this is the foundation, right? The foundation of fixing our hormones, you know, regulating our hormones, fixing our metabolism so that we can lose weight is everything I'm teaching you. Now, if you've got autoimmune, if you've got, you know, any kind of itis, if you've got type 2 diabetes, if you know you're insulin resistant, if you've got fatty liver, if you've got all these things, we've got to do, there's some digestive issues. If you got diverticulitis, if you got SIBO, if you got these things, like, these are things that we have to target individually. So, so that's the thing with the gallbladder. Any questions on gallbladder? Because I know there's quite a few of you in here and that don't have a gallbladder. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Okay, Aaron, I have another question.
Yeah.
Sorry. So,
Oh, you're good.
so did I hear you say then that it doesn't matter how many times a day we're eating? Like, if we don't have a gallbladder, then it's better to eat small meals throughout the day, and that
Yes.
doesn't mess up the insulin stuff.
Yep. If you notice, here's the thing. Yes, that's a really great point. If you notice, so most of you that don't, this doesn't apply to you. That's why health is so individualized as well too, right? If you have a gallbladder, this should not probably apply to you. If you do not have a gallbladder, this is going to apply to you, okay? So if you're having a hard time, not everybody has a hard time without a gallbladder, but if you find that you are having a hard time digesting more fat, then it's going to be better for you to eat smaller meals throughout your day. If you do have a gallbladder, this is not for you. If you don't, and you're having a hard time digesting those fats, because it's not going to mess with your blood sugar if you're eating mostly fat and moderate protein. It's going to still keep your blood sugar stable, even if you're eating, say, 4 times a day, because you're still focusing on getting that fat goal.
Okay.
So when I say no snacking, like in between meals, it's mainly like, I want you to be more aware. So if you don't have this issue, it's more of an awareness thing of like, oh, I'm just going to like go grab something to eat. You know, it's like, oh, do I really need it? Or do I not? But if you don't have a gallbladder, and if you're having a hard time getting your fat in, then you need to break it up. And if you're having a hard time doing that, schedule a session with me and we can work this out.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yep, that helps. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So any other questions from anybody else about that, about gallbladder or? Okay, cool. So, all right. On here, if you don't like eggs, I know some, you know, like, that's okay. Substitute those out. That's okay. You can have a burger patty, right? You can have some smoked salmon. You can have, you know, bacon. You can have a steak in the morning with some butter on top and coffee. With some butter in your coffee. Like, and if you don't like coffee, that's okay. Like, have some broth. Like, I will warm up sometimes like really good like chicken broth or beef broth in the morning with like a half tablespoon or a tablespoon of butter and just a little pinch of salt. It's one that, oh, it's so good and it's so nourishing. So if you're like, you know, even having a hard time getting in protein, now there's 10 or 11 grams of in every cup of broth. So pay attention to that, of protein, right? It's just because it's just protein. So that's why you want to add some fat into a broth, but that's excellent in the morning as well too. If you're not like a coffee person, it gives collagen. If you got like joint issues, it's going to help with that, like knees, things like that too. So if you don't like an ingredient on any of the recipes below, leave it out. Just, you know, take that out when you're making the recipe as far as the fat and the protein. Or sub it out. If it works with your numbers, sub out another, we can go through the recipes and show you. So the recipes are a guide, right? And it's to help you make this like journey successful, right? And as simple as we can. They're here to inspire you, which last week, so this week, as we're going through this, I want everyone to like post at least one meal a day, a picture of what you're eating and what the numbers are, especially if it's something fun or new for you. Just make sure there's no processed foods in there. There's no, nothing that's like not on the list. And if you have a question about it, ask me, you can definitely message me and say like, hey, is this, something, but yeah, post every day a meal. Will keep you accountable, and it will keep you engaged in the group, and it will inspire others, and it will keep you on track. So breakfast foods do not need to be typical breakfast foods. Dinner foods do not need to necessarily be regular dinner foods, right? So, so there's these, and I wanted to go over this too, because there was some confusion about this. When I have, okay, so like 3 pieces of bacon here, right? Bacon and eggs. 3 slices of bacon each. So on these ingredients, you have to like read it really carefully. Like I have 55 calories per slice. There's 5 fat in each. So each slice, I have to go through this. This confuses me too. So I might just honestly take this off and just have a total. What do you guys feel about that? Like, do you need it for every ingredient, or is it just a full at the bottom?
I
Because
like it for each ingredient, just because if I just eat that ingredient, it's kind of nice to look back on it.
Gotcha. Because the one thing too is that depending on, so say you don't get Kirkland bacon, say you get a different kind of bacon, it's going to be different macros, right? So then it requires everyone to really take a look at the label, right? That we're reading, and not just go by this guide. That's the other thing too. What were you going to say, Casey? I think I saw your mic off.
Yeah, I do like per serving that you haven't. Yeah, it takes a little work to then like do the calculations, but I do like it per serving. That way I know, oh, I only want 2 pieces of bacon, or I want 4. It's a lot easier to calculate that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
My intention when I did this was in case like not every recipe is going to fit into your macros like we covered last week, right? It's not going to fit into your fat and protein. So you might need to alter it. So I thought, all right, well, having each ingredient separated out, then you could be like, oh, I only need this much more fat and this much more protein. I don't need like a whole meal. So I can like tweak it to what I need then for the rest of my day. That was the intention behind it. But I just want you to know, like, pay attention to your own, like if you don't get Kirkland bacon, it is different. It is different. And don't get the maple bacon, the sugar bacon, stuff like that. Just get bacon. Make sure that there's like no carbs in the bacon. So, because regular bacon does not have any carbs in it. Okay. Yes, Casey.
So I'm feeling kind of bad. I'm kind of feeling guilty now because I know that I posted that pizza in the group, and it does have a 1/4 of a cup for the whole pizza. And I use like Ancient Grains flour. Was that a bad no?
Yeah, I mean, just because no grains right now for this month.
Totally. Okay. I apologize for that.
That's
Okay.
okay. Hey, again, you know what, Casey? I'm owning this too, as far as like, I wasn't fully clear last week. And so I realized that with some of the questions that y'all had. And so this is a way to clean that up so that we can really all be successful in this. And this is how you're going to be successful in this. And so I have to be very clear with you, right? And sometimes I'll just be honest. Sometimes I'm like, well, like, and nope,
Mhm.
nope, not for this, not for this.
Okay.
Because it does sometimes get confusing for other people reading, like, oh, well, if I can have that, she's using that grain, right? So maybe
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do and whatnot as well too. So I might, if I'm going to go through the group today, and if any one of you, like, if you see any posts get taken down as far as like food goes, it's just because of that, because it's not on the list, and I don't want to have the confusion out. It's nothing personal. I just want to be very clear on that at all. It's just that, I don't want to have anything confusing people. So thank you. Yeah, no, Casey,
Yeah. Okay. If I can figure out how to do cloud bread without any flour, I will let you guys know.
Awesome. No, that's great. That's great. And here's the thing. I actually have a whole stash of recipes that I just have not put in here yet, that I'm gathering from a doctor actually that I'm working with, and that has recipes that are aligning with this, that I'm gathering, that I just need to get into the group as well too. So I will have more that I add in to this as we go. It's going to be ever evolving. So yeah. Anybody else on that? On foods or
Aaron?
Yeah.
I have some questions about specific foods. Is
Okay.
this a good time to ask it?
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're eating a lot. I mean, I am eating a lot of dairy, like cheese and cream and stuff like that. So what about yogurt? Like, I saw someone put yogurt in the group. Is yogurt okay? Or is it,
Yeah, that's another one. Like, so these first 4 weeks, I would say no.
no yogurt?
Just no yogurt right now. It just because here's the thing. There's so many different yogurts out there that when, if there's yogurt in there, people like, oh, I can have yogurt. And then they might pick like another yogurt though, that is like not, it's still gonna have a lot of sugar because especially if it's like and there's other preservatives and stuff too, in the yogurt. So I would say not for these first 4 weeks.
Okay. So then what about like, are we saying like absolutely no fruits and vegetables? Like not like, can I eat a strawberry out of my garden? Or are we saying no? Like, how strict are we? Is it absolutely no fruits and vegetables? My strawberries have to go to the bugs? Is that what you're telling me?
Do you have chickens?
No.
I was gonna say you could feed them to the chickens and then you'll get the benefit of it because then they're able to break it down.
There
And
you go.
so here's the thing. These first 4 weeks, no.
Okay. So no, like literally no fruit, no vegetable goes into my body for the first 4 weeks.
These first 4 weeks,
So, okay, so what about salsa? Because I thought last week you said that we could have some salsa as a condiment. Are you saying no salsa?
no, that was my own bad of not being like super clear. So yes, no fruits, no vegetables for these first 4 weeks.
Okay. What about, sorry, I have a lot of questions here
No,
because I
you're
want to make
good.
sure I'm
This is
doing it
great.
right. What about deli meats? Like if they don't have added sugar, are they okay? Or should we be buying raw meats that we cook on our own?
Deli meats are fine as long as they don't have, like you're saying, like the brown sugar, the maple that like look at if you're buying deli meats, there should be a label, right? On the like
Right.
boar's head
Yeah.
or whatever brand it is. Just look
Right.
at the label. If cured meats and like obviously you're not going to want to live on deli meats, right? But deli meats are okay as long as like
Okay.
it's, so deli meats are okay. So also too in this, and we're going to get into more of this after these first 4 weeks, but there's always going to be a good, better, best. Right now for these 4 weeks, we are being more strict. Absolutely. Because it's the best way that you can support your hormones and your metabolism right now to do the reboot.
Okay.
It's the best way. And there's good, better, best also too, right? So obviously is it best to have like to get a big brisket or something like that, right? And cut that off for the week? Absolutely. Yes. And deli meat is like, so that's best, right? Is better is deli meat,
Okay.
right? So it's not gonna thwart you. Dairy though, however, everybody's gonna be different with dairy. Cream cheese, heavy whipping cream, no half and half. What else? Even butter sometimes. Usually people don't generally have an issue with butter, because it's so little dairy, but in it because it's just pure fat pretty much. But if you notice though, some people have a reaction to dairy. It can cause inflammation. If you notice with dairy that you get, like my son, my 15-year-old, he gets congested if he has a lot of dairy. He'll notice himself getting like sinusy. Just notice that is probably a reaction to dairy.
Okay.
The cleaner you eat through this right now, you're going to notice what foods your body doesn't actually like.
Right.
You're going to see a reaction because you're going to feel it in your body. So like just pay attention. If you say you're like going along and you're like, yeah, I'm losing some weight and whatever, and all of a sudden it stalls out, or you're like, oh shoot, I gained even a couple pounds. Just pay attention to how much dairy you actually are eating. Dairy can be very addictive too.
Okay. So what about butter? Is there, if we're eating butter, is there a specific kind of butter we should be eating, or just make sure it's real butter?
Make sure
And
it's real butter.
salted versus unsalted. Like, is there any?
Yep. That does not matter. Salted, unsalted. That's your preference. I like salted
Okay.
myself just because that's just yummy to me, like when it's a little salted. But you can get unsalted as well too. That does not matter. Make sure it's real butter, not in the little, if it's spreadable, if it's spreadable, it's not real butter, right? I don't care what the label says. Make sure the label on your butter just says butter and or I'm sorry, cream. It'll probably say pasteurized cream unless you get raw butter, but pasteurized cream, and then it'll say salt if it's salted or nothing else. That's it. That's it. I get
Okay.
the Kirkland brand. It's like 95% grass-fed brand. I like that. But if but if your budget doesn't allow for that, that's fine. Just get, the next best thing, but just make sure it's real butter.
Okay.
The thing with butter, the deeper the yellow it is, the more vitamins it has in it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
So if your butter is super, super pale, it doesn't have so you're going to find vitamins A, D, E, and K and some other things, but those are the main things in butter. And we need those. We need those. And, especially the K and the D. And so, well, all of it, but, anyway, it's like a symphony, right? So, so the darker yellow it is, the more vibrant the color is in the butter, the more of those like amazing vitamins we're actually getting into our body.
Okay.
Same thing with egg yolks. You can, the deeper, richer, yellow, orangey yolk you have, the more nutrients you're actually getting.
All right.
If you have your own chickens, awesome. It's best. Second thing is just getting a good quality. If you can only afford 97, cent eggs at Walmart, fine. It's better than nothing, but I don't recommend that for many reasons, but because it's just not like anyway, that's another topic, but let me look at the chat quick. I just want to make sure.
And then are you going to cover stuff about electrolytes today?
Oh, yes, that's a great. Yes. Strawberries to the freezer. Yes. I am using the label. This is Amber. Oh, okay. Cool. Got it. Carbs only come from meats and fat sources. All right. I no longer have sinus issues with dairy since doing this 4 months ago. That's awesome. Oh, that's right, Shay. I remember that. When Shay first started with me, she couldn't do dairy. And she's healed a lot of stuff in her body, and now she can do dairy. So. Okay, you can leave your butter out for up to 3 weeks without, I leave my butter on my counter. I literally have probably 16 half-pound, like every time I go to Costco, I pick up another 1 or 2 of like a 4-pack of the Kirkland butter. I have so much butter in my fridge because we go through so much of it between my kids eat this way too. So, I mean, we all eat this way. So it's like, we use a lot of butter. So, but I get a new one out and I just leave it out because, we're going to go through it in, I don't know, 5 days. So.
Okay, one more question about food. Can you address like what do we do if we're eating out? How do we eat out on this?
Yes, that's a great question because I know it came up last week and that was another thing that I really wasn't as clear about. Honestly, these 4 weeks, don't eat out. Just don't eat out. Give your body what it needs. And when we go out to restaurants, you know how many seed oils, like we don't really see how damaging seed oils can be. Our meats are cooked in it. The salad dressings that we use, like look in your refrigerator too. Like, I mean, all the dressings and sauces and stuff too. If you're putting that on your meat, look at the ingredients. If it's canola oil, if it's like the only thing you should really be putting on your meat is a pat of butter or the Boursin cheese or, something like that. You should not be putting any sauces right now too. Unless you make sure it's like Primal. There's a brand called Primal Foods out there. It's very spendy, but you're going to get top-notch ingredients. If you really need a sauce for your steak or for your chicken or whatever. That is absolutely fine to do that because it's high fat, very low protein, no carbs, maybe one carb, maybe in it. And it's avocado oil based. It's all like Mark Sisson from Primal Foods is rock solid. He's been around for years. You should see this guy. He's got to be at least in his 60s. And he is like, let's just say that like all men, if they look like that, that'd be amazing. Like in their 60s. So anyway, does that help?
Yeah, so just no eating out.
Just no eating out. And here's the
Don't
thing.
do it. Okay.
Question like that everybody can have. You are here for a reason, right? You're here for these these 6 weeks, now 7, right? I'm adding on an extra week, but these 4 weeks, give this gift to yourself. This is a gift that you are giving to yourself. And I'm going to just prepare you. Your mind is going to talk you out of it. Your mind is going to try to tell you that I'm crazy. Your mind's going to tell you all of these things. It's going to happen. So the more you can prepare for that, when that comes up in your mind, the more you're going to better be able to navigate through it. This is a way that most of you have never eaten before. And we've been told not to eat this way. So there's going to be a lot of resistance around it.
I have a question.
Yes, Kay.
Can we air fry food?
Air frying is great.
Okay.
Absolutely. Just add the fat in like after, when you eat it. Instead of cooking it in fat, you know what I mean? Yeah. No, if you got an air fryer, that's great. Great question. So yeah, so with restaurants, we just don't really know what we're getting. And I put it even in that seed oils app in the group. I think it was the first couple of days maybe of the group. Check that out too. You can check out different restaurants, in there, but like just for reference right now, so that when you go out in 4 weeks from now, if you do that, then you'll know, like Buffalo Wild Wings, they cook their fries, not the fries are gonna be healthy, but they cook their wings and their fries in tallow, in actual beef tallow. So that's cool. So if I want chicken wings in 4 weeks, I'm going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and I'm going to get some chicken wings if I'm not making them at home. Because I know the oil they're going to cook it in is not going to be inflammatory. Because if you eat this way, if you truly commit for 4 weeks to this, you are going to notice when you have seed oils, you will not feel good. You're going to get brain fog back. Your joint issues are going to come back. All that stuff. They're so highly toxic to our body. It's just that we've been eating them, especially if we're eating processed food, so much that our body just gets used to it and we don't notice,
Do we need to ask if we go to Buffalo that they're using tallow?
I think it's always a good idea to if you want to just make sure, for sure, call, like my son actually called the restaurant here just to make sure because he wanted wings a couple weeks ago. He's like, I'm pretty sure, Mom. And, and we went and picked him up for him because I didn't want any. I'm not a huge wing fan anyway, but yeah, he called and yep, they use tallow. So, I think it's always a good idea to call, be an advocate. You got to be an advocate for your health. You can go into restaurants too. And we'll talk about this in 4 weeks, but you can say, I'm allergic to seed oils. Can you cook my food in butter? Do you have real butter? Like you can make they can make those accommodations, for you. Maybe, I'm sure like if you're going to McDonald's, they're not going to do that, but I wouldn't recommend McDonald's whether it's 4 weeks from now or anytime, but yeah, just because of the quality, so yeah, I think it's always a good idea to ask.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
We travel and I'm not sure we'll be home 4 solid weeks without traveling to my grandson's ball game or whatever. Then I'll be eating out. Do I just get like a double burger with no bun?
How many? Yeah, this is I love this. Thank you for bringing this up. This is great. So when you travel, how long are you gone when you typically, like, is it 2 days, 3 days at a time, 4 days?
Well, it may just be the one day, but we're gone all day long. So we're going to eat at least 2 meals out.
Okay. So can I share with you what I do when I travel?
Sure.
Okay. So I've traveled a ton this year. I've traveled overseas, a couple times and, to places, where I didn't even know how to read the labels of things. Okay. I had to do that in Sweden and Norway and in, Denmark and in Mexico. And here's the thing, if we don't plan for this, we're not gonna succeed. Whether we travel or not, I plan and I pack. I'm gonna be traveling for a whole week, actually like 9 days solid in less than a month. Because I have to drive to Texas from South Carolina, and I'm gonna be packing, and then I go to grocery stores when I'm there and I get easy food, maybe some salami, maybe some cheese sticks, things like that while I'm traveling to support myself. And then I'm cooking, and I have a little like soft-sided cooler thing that I just have some burger patties in. I have hard-boiled eggs in. I had carried my own butter with me, my own salt with me. We have to prepare, or we're not. I mean, that's with anything.
But we're not gonna be able to do that because we're with our grandson and kids, and after the ball game or whatever, they all want to go out to eat to whatever, we always go out to eat after the games are over.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be in a restaurant. I'm not gonna be able to take my own food.
Can you eat before you go to the restaurant at the game?
Well, I probably can, but they're gonna go after the game,
Okay.
and I'm just gonna be sitting there.
Okay.
I don't know, because it's at least it's a 2-hour drive over.
Yeah.
And we'll be there half the day, and then we'll come back, but in between that time, we're gonna be eating out.
Okay, so what I would do and what I do, and it's possible, is I prepare and I eat beforehand because I am going to support myself through this. So it just depends on what you want to do. I mean, the thing is we can make anything work if we really want to.
Okay, but so I'm asking, if we go to, say, a burger place, can I
Yeah.
just get double patty meat only and eat that?
So for these 4 weeks, I'm recommending no eating out because I don't know what they're cooking the food in and stuff. And so that's what I'm recommending.
Okay,
So the thing is, and I know it sucks because the biggest thing is like, I don't want to feel left out. Like, we're all going out. This is what we do. I don't want to feel left out. I don't want to sit at the restaurant and like not have anything, in front of me. I get that. And at the same time, like, can we do this for just 4 weeks? Is it possible to just make that change for 4 weeks to support your health? To give your body the chance to really have it feel its best. That's just the question, Amber, were you gonna say something?
yeah. Mostly because of budget, because I have 4 children. We have a really good, like I have a Stanley thermos that was gifted to me. So, and then my teenager plays soccer 3 days a week. So I literally, like, we leave our house at 3 p.m. and we don't get home till 10 p.m. So I take our dinner in that Stanley thermos, and it's delicious. I mean, this is my kids are so happy. It's their favorite time because we have a picnic, we bring our blanket. And then I was also going to mention that Walmart has and Marshalls, they have really good, like personal size thermoses. And like when my family goes out to eat, I pack our own food, and I honestly just open it up like in the restaurant. I just open up I bring my little bag hanging on my shoulder, and we open it up, our thermoses, and we just put the food on the plate in front of us. Like, I'll ask for a plate and we put the food on our plate and we eat it. And no one feels left out. I've never had someone in the restaurant say anything to me. I mean, I had a waitress one time that asked if I wanted like butter to go with something. And and I automatically was like, oh yeah, thank you so much. Like, we have a special diet. Like, my mom used to be celiac. So we have a lot of things, but mostly it's financial reasons that we take our food. Even when we go away for soccer games, I'm packing food for me and my 4 children, even my teenager. I can't tell you how rare it is that we actually eat out. And it's for financial reasons, because if I had the money, I probably would eat out. But
So
yeah, I mean, we drove it like something like ground beef with like cheese sprinkled on top. I know we're avoiding rice, but I would have added rice for my kids. But anything you would normally eat, like if you just wake up in the morning and pack that, and you can pack your separate thermoses, And I always bring something that feels like a treat, which for me, it might be cottage cheese or I don't know, but I bring something so that even if my mind is like, well, everyone else gets to have this and I'm doing this thing, then I will have something that I'm like, ooh, but I have this. And then everyone is usually like, hey, can I have a bite of your cottage cheese? And I'm like, no. So I just wanted to interject that because I understand what you're feeling.
Okay. So what
Yeah.
do you put in the thermoses?
What'd you say?
What do you put in the thermoses?
Um, Anything. I mean, sometimes I will get like a big thing of like beef tips and I will saute them in lard or tallow or butter or whatever, and I'll just toss that in the thermos. Um, Hard-boiled eggs. I mean, and what I would do with the hard-boiled eggs is I would put them in a Ziploc bag and toss them in your cooler on top of a bag of ice. Um, Anything that you like, like you can have a cooler for cold things and you can have a thermos for hot things.
Okay.
And you can even bring like a beverage, like I like mineral water. I'm a beverage person. So just like make your list of things that you love before you leave. That's what we do. And then when you get ready to go to the grocery store and you have like I would say sometimes I'll say to my kids like this food is just for mommy. This is just for me right now because I'm doing this thing. Or if you want to share, you can bring like little cheese squares for the kids or whatever. So it makes like, if you want to feel good and you want to share some things, those are some options. But this is my first time doing this with Aaron. So everything I'm about to tell you would be like, I would bring baked potatoes with ground beef on top, but we're eliminating starches right now. So,
Yeah.
you'll have to get creative and go through our recipes.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much, Amber, for sharing that. And like the egg muffins that I have in the recipes too, those are great. Like make a batch of those and, you can make chicken drummies and, bring those along, put those in a container, and eat that chicken thighs. Like meat always packs really well. You know, salami, Columbus salami. I get that brand a lot. And cream cheese. Oh my God, that's like feels like it should be against the rules, but it's not. And there's so many things that we can get creative in, and even with traveling as well too. And that it was a question actually that I had in my Facebook group too, is like how to stay healthy, right, while traveling. And that's one of the things that I wanted to test myself on this year. And that's why I traveled so much this year. Like, can I travel and stay committed to my health goals? I had to do that for myself to show and to actually tell other people that they can. And we can. Does it take an extra step? Absolutely it does. Like we actually have to plan for it. So here's the thing. Brings up whatever you have for the week, plan for that ahead of time so that you can feel successful in this. If you know, like, oh, I have something out of town, it's going to take me out of town for a bit, or, a game, or whatever it is, whatever. Oh, I'm, being asked out for happy hour for, some girlfriends or something like that, whatever. Plan for that so that you can be successful and that you're not falling back on yourself. Because really the only person that you're sabotaging is yourself. That's the only thing. And these 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, give yourself this gift. And prepare. And you're going to gain so much confidence in that. So much confidence. Health is the thing that most people struggle with. This is a way that you can overcome so many things around health, and so that you can stay healthy. The mini waffle maker is the best thing to happen. Shay says that. Yes, that mini waffle maker is good to make truffles. If you have not tried truffles yet, I would highly recommend that. And the secret to making them crispy is to put a little bit of cheese in the waffle maker before you pour your egg in. And then you put a little bit of shredded cheese on top of it. And then you cook it because the cheese gets nice and crispy on the outside and it's really yummy. So that's just, I just do like maybe a tablespoon of cheese, like not a lot at all. But and then I add that in obviously to my, fats and proteins. But that's the secret of getting them nice and crispy. So Jackie asked, what is Boursin cheese? Boursin cheese is a soft cheese, very high fat, low protein cheese that you can get at Walmart. You can get at Costco. There's like 3 for $10 at Costco. It's the best deal there. Walmart, maybe $5, $6 for a little box. You're going to find it in the deli area. It comes in a little cardboard box and it's Boursin. And I have that, a chaffle, and I had that Boursin cheese and bacon for one of my meals. Like, was it 3 pieces of bacon? Maybe I even did 4 pieces of bacon. I'm not sure. And a serving of Boursin cheese, which is like 29 grams, and like roughly 2 tablespoons. That would be on the chaffle, 2 eggs, and oh my God, amazing. So good. Budget wise, I was sad because I can't actually afford to feed my family like myself. My children have been so supportive and even holding me accountable. Once I shared what I'm doing, share with others, they will hold you accountable. Yes, if they're supportive, yes, they will do that. And actually, like, when we get into this more, we're gonna realize actually that it's actually can cost a lot less money because it fills us up. When we eat high fat, it satiates for a long period of time when we get these numbers dialed in. Carbs don't. It's like putting kindling on a fire. When you put kindling on a fire, what do you have to do? You have to stay close and you have to keep adding to it, right? Adding. High fat is like a big log on the fire. You can walk away from it and it might be 2, like 3, 4, 5 hours. I mean, I eat meals sometimes and I'm not hungry for 6, 7 hours. The more fat adapted your body gets, the less you're going to have those hunger and like hangry kind of feelings too in between meals. Shay says not buying chips, fruits, veggies, pastas, bread makes for a higher budget for good quality eggs, butter, meat. Yeah, I don't eat out. I don't trust people to cook my food. You never know what's happening in the kitchen. I order my meat from Good Chop. That's cool. I'll have to look into that. Okay, cool. So let's see here. I have a list here. These are grocery items to have on hand, right? All the meats, poultry. Don't worry about, unless you have a histamine issue, which if you do, you'll know. If you don't know what that means, then you probably are fine. If you have histamine issues, cured meats might give you a reaction, right? But cured meats, nitrites and nitrates are not, like, we need nitric acid in our, like, if like we need nitric acid and it converts into nitric acid in our bodies. So the whole cholesterol myth, same thing. I don't know if you've heard of like no nitrates and stuff like that in meats and whatnot. It's not, the research is been shown to be very faulty on that as well too. So don't get too upset unless you have a histamine issue. If you got histamine stuff, if you have histamine issues, eating this way will heal your histamine issues. And getting sun. So dairy, if tolerated, right? Butter, real butter. Ingredients should only be cream or cream and salt. Heavy cream, not half and half. Some cheeses, ghee, if you can't do butter or prefer to do ghee and over butter, that's fine. Cream cheese, full fat. Sour cream, full fat. Non-dairy alternatives, coconut milk, canned, full fat. I know someone put in coconut cream in the group today, and it had, if you look at the label, it was like 12 grams of carbs in like 1 cup, I believe. Not like you're gonna have a whole cup in a coffee, but that is not, like, just get coconut milk, but full fat. And I put a picture of what that looks like in the group as well too, underneath that thread. Animal fats, all animal fats are good and permissible. Whole eggs, egg yolks, processed and cured meats. Again, always check for added sugars and carbs. If you're getting deli meat, ask, make sure you look at that label. If it tastes sweet to you, there's probably added sugars in there. Yeah. I would say the only processed foods right now, and this pork rinds. If you want pork rinds, but you look at the label, make sure that it doesn't have canola oil in it. Epic brand is good. And there's like a I want to say 469, 459 brand. You can get them at Sprouts. Those are good. 'Cause it's just pork rinds and like avocado oil or olive oil, something like that. Or no, I think it's lard. They're cooked in lard. Don't get the conventional pork rinds. Because all it is literally pork skin and fat. That's all it is. So in the bag. So it's minimally processed, you know, so that's the only like processed food right now. No nuts. All plant-based, avoid first 4 weeks, all plant-based foods. With the exception of avocado, no more than a half of an avocado a day. Processed and sugary foods, all vegetable oils. When you go out to eat, you're going to be getting vegetable oils. So we want to avoid all vegetable oils these first 4 weeks. All grains, oats, pasta, rice, soy-based products, commercial coffee creamers. So no nut pods, no, you know, creamers, just heavy whipping cream. All right. Full fat cottage cheese. I am gonna, yes, that is fine. Full fat cottage cheese is fine. Make sure it's full fat, and that is fine. But make sure it is full fat. There is a Good Culture, I believe, is the brand. That is the best cottage cheese. You can get it at Publix. If you have a Publix, you can get it at Sprouts. But Good Culture, full fat sour cream, or I'm sorry, full fat cottage cheese is delightful. All right. Anything I did not go over, anything that anybody has any more questions on at all?
Electrolytes.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Yes. When we're eating this way, carbs, like I mentioned last week, carbs hydrate. When we're taking carbs out of our diet, we have to then drink more water. But water alone does not hydrate. I want everybody to really understand that. Water alone does not hydrate. We need electrolytes. If you're noticing headaches, if you're noticing like twitching, sometimes I'll get an eye twitch if I know my electrolytes off, like my eye will start to twitch a little bit. Sometimes people are like, oh, it's almost like I lay in bed and I have like restless leg, like, or I have like aches or whatever in my legs or whatever. It's 99% of the time, it's an electrolyte imbalance. So we have to get our water and our electrolytes and our salt dialed in. So if you're noticing, those things, check with yourself and be like, oh, how much water have I drank today? Did I add electrolytes? And when I say electrolytes, I don't mean Gatorade and I don't mean Powerade. I mean good salt, like the Celtic sea salt. I put pictures in the group, Celtic sea salt or Redmond's salt with all the minerals in it. What I use is Ultima, and I'll put a picture of it. I use Ultima electrolytes. You can get them on Amazon. They're not like that expensive. I know some people like Element. That's fine. Element is fine. And there's some other brands of electrolytes that are fine. Just again, watch the sugar content, because sometimes the sugar can still be high in that if it has added, sweeteners in it. But you can make your own as well too. If you want to make your own, I can put a recipe in the group if that's something that you are wanting to do. It's going to be a lot cheaper. It won't taste as good, but it'll be a lot cheaper. So I can put a recipe in the group for that if you want to make your own, but making sure you get those every day. Every day. So
How much every day, Erin?
So okay, this is all individual. I can't tell you 1 scoop, 3 scoops, 4 scoops if you're using Ultima. But what I can tell you though, is that if you all of a sudden like get loose stools, you're probably having too many electrolytes.
Okay.
It's kind of like magnesium, right? Some magnesium's in there, right? If you have too much magnesium, you're going to go to the bathroom. Right. So that's how you can monitor it basically. And if you feel though, like, oh, the other thing too, is if you feel like you have heart palpitations, like sometimes I'll lay down to bed and I'm like, I did not drink enough today, because I can feel my heart like beating faster. I'm like, okay, I need to go. I need to get up and I need to go. Like, I don't like to drink a couple hours before bed. Just cause, you know, but I have to get in my electrolytes though, because then I'm like, oh shoot, like I did not get enough to drink today. So you got to really listen to your body. Like that is such an individual thing. I would say at least if you get Ultima, again, it's on Amazon. They have a ton of flavors. I love the grape the best. It's so good. My kids love it too. We drink that. But 100 ounces of water at least every day. And water alone does not hydrate. It will just run through you and it will make you pee a ton. If you add electrolytes and if you add salt to your water, your cells will get hydrated, and that's what we want. And we won't pee as much because now your body's actually using the water rather than just pushing it through you. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Erin.
Yeah.
Is the salt, if I'm doing just sea salt in water, is that sufficient for electrolytes, or are you saying that I should add something along with the salt?
What kind of sea salt are you using?
It's like the real sea salt that you posted a picture of.
Okay. So again, that's great to have in every like water that you have, right? You got to pay attention to your body though. If you feel really tired throughout the day, you need more salt.
Okay.
Or more electrolytes, right? If you feel if you get a headache or if you're feeling all of the symptoms of electrolyte imbalance, if you're getting that, if you're like not pooping for like 5 days, 6 days, you probably need a little bit more electrolytes.
Okay. So
Right.
you're saying that is salt the same as electrolytes?
So with electrolytes, the electrolytes you're going to buy, like the Ultima, it has the same ingredient or the potassium and the magnesium or whatever that's in there, but it's of different degrees. Different
Okay.
levels.
If I'm just going to do the salt or your electrolyte, if you give a recipe, I would do what you said. But if I'm not going to buy anything else, does it feel like the salt would be sufficient if I'm just listening to my body? Like I haven't experienced constipation. The more fat I eat, the easier it is for me to use the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I mean, just again, monitor your body. If you're feeling kind of twitchy or whatever, it's like, okay, I either need to add more salt, right? Or I have to get an electrolyte to make it easier, you know, for me. So, but you have to get those in and just make sure, but make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure you're getting, that in. And and I can post a picture like a recipe or whatever of electrolytes too. It's pretty simple. You just have to get the ingredients, you know, and you just have to do it. The nice thing about electrolytes that you pre-buy, it has a ratio that our body needs, so we don't have to think about it. And sometimes convenience does win out, you know. So any questions? Any more questions at all? Does this all help you to does this firm up everything? Does this help to clarify more? Like where you feel, okay, Casey's nodding, Sandra's nodding, Kay's nodding, Amber's nodding. I don't see anybody else right now because of my screen. Jackie's nodding, Missy's nodding, thumbs up. All right, awesome. How I want to in a chat, I want you to on a scale of 1 to 4, 4 being the most confident, 1 being after this call, how confident do you feel to move forward for these next 4 weeks? And drop it in the chat. I like that, Amber. 400. 4, 4, 4. Awesome. Beautiful. Kathy asks, helpful, how do you regulate magnesium? What do you mean by that? Can you be more clear, Kathy? Either you can come on audio or you can type it in the chat. While she's doing that, the other thing too, I had a question about this week was, Pooping. So when we're having high fat and we're having moderate protein and we're not eating vegetables, fruits, processed foods and grains and things like that, we're not going to poop as much. And here's why. Because all of that food, your meat, literally, how many of you have heard that meat takes forever to digest in your system and just sits there? Yep, I've heard it. Yep. It's not true. Actually, when you go through the whole where meat goes, it literally, because here's why they thought that, because we don't poop it out. So then the theory or the thought was, whoa, it must just not be digested. It must take a forever to like digest. What happens is it doesn't go past our small intestine because all of it gets assimilated in our small intestine and goes out to our cells and goes out to like our tissues and everything that we need. There's no waste. So when there's no waste to our food, we won't have waste coming out of us. Make sense? When we're eating fruits and vegetables and we're told to get fiber, 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 fiber is undigestible for us. We cannot digest fiber. That's why we poop it out. It gets down past our small intestine, can't do a whole lot with it, gets down to our large intestine, which is actually a lot smaller than our small intestine. And then we poop it out and we eliminate it. And fiber actually is an anti-nutrient, just like a lot of fruits are, and just like a lot of vegetables are, that will literally rob your tissues and rob your bones of essential minerals and vitamins. They're called anti-nutrients. I have a podcast about it. I can link it in here if I haven't already. Beans are the same way. So, it doesn't mean carbs are the enemy. It just means that we were never designed to eat fruits and vegetables even all day long, every day. And the fruits and vegetables that are in our grocery stores now have been so modified to be so much sweeter than what they actually are if we're growing them ourselves. It's not the same as what it used to be. It's just not. When Big Ag came in, and the agricultural revolution, our food changed. We just haven't been alive, long enough to know. So this is all we know. And then we're told, eat this, eat this, eat this, eat this. And if you have not listened to my fat podcast on how all of our regulations were, if you're interested in this, if you haven't listened to it yet, I highly recommend listening to it. It's all been political, religious, and money-based. All of it. Food pyramid included. All of it. So this isn't a conspiracy class. This is just let's get to the bottom and truth class of it. So I go there though, if anybody ever wants to go there. But anyway, Casey, yes.
Something that I saw when I was doing the carnivore diet, back when I was following people who were doing the carnivore diet, was they were talking about oxalate dumping.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, yeah. Is that something we should be expecting to happen?
That's a really great question. And it can, not everybody can, but depending on how heavy your diet was before of vegetables, different vegetables that have oxalates in them, you can experience, it can be a little bit uncomfortable to like transition over. And so one of the symptoms, I know I went through this, and one of the symptoms is itching. If you have a lot of itching, just share that, because like, it's like, oh my God, what's going on? I'm like itching, like, is this like a hormone? And I was like, looking at it all, I was like, oh, it's an oxalate thing, And so yeah, I can put some stuff in the group around that because that's the thing, like, we don't even realize like some of the foods that we've been eating. And honestly, it's not even food. A lot of this processed food is not even food. I'm not talking fruits and vegetables, but I mean, I can go down this whole, the whole thing on even fruits and vegetables too. But they mess with our hormones. They just do. And so the more heavy we have, eaten those before in the past and then we switch them and we don't eat them anymore, we're going to have potentially symptoms. Not everybody experiences that, but some people do. And sometimes it can last months. Just depends. It depends on what our body is doing. So everybody, here's the thing I really want everybody to understand. I have this group here. This is the foundation, right? These are the principles to reboot your endocrine system, to fix your metabolism, right? And to rebalance your hormones. It's food. It's high fat, moderate protein, low to no carb. Sunlight. That's what we were going to talk about today. What I'm going to leave you with today, though, is I want you to, and I'm going to go into why the next week, so it'll make sense. I want all of you to get up as early as you can by sunrise. The benefits we get from sunrise, I can't even, and anybody who's worked with me before and who's done this, you know how powerful the sunrise is to our hormones, to feel good through the day, for our energy. If you're struggling with energy throughout the day, getting out for sunrise is your answer.
Do we need to be facing the sunrise?
So that's a great question. So, when I first started, here's what I'll share with you. So when I first started, all I could do was literally go to my back deck and face east. That's all I could do. It hurt to walk. It hurt to do a lot of things. I just had a lot of joint pain. I had a lot of shit going on in my body. And plus I'd broken my ankle too. So that was healing. There was just so much going on. So that's all I did. And then it progressed to now I go for a walk pretty much every morning now at sunrise. If I don't go for a walk, I'm at least out, outside for the sunrise. And think of the sun as, now when it's coming up crowning, think about like when the sun is like, so look at your like sunrise right now. For me, sunrise comes up about 6:42. So I'm always looking at my weather app and I'm like sunrise, and I go out about 10 minutes before the time that it tells me that sun is coming up, because that's when I'm going to see the sun, the pink hues and the purple in the sky and the beautiful reds. And I mean, just gorgeous. You see and I'm going to go over this next week, all of the colors of the rainbow. That is your red light therapy. And so, yes, that benefits you if you can, like, as it's coming up right on the horizon, yeah, like try to get your eyes on it as much as you can. Now, though, if it gets up like, and you're like seeing the full sun, don't stare straight at the sun. So I'll never advocate, don't look straight into the sun. You don't want to blind yourself, right? But once the sun is coming up, it is like a big, like the whole sky is, it's reflected on the whole sky. So as long as you're out, your eyes are on the light, it can be, the sun might be back behind you, right? And the sun, and you're facing this way, that's okay. That's all right. But as it's crowning, right, all those beautiful colors that you see, I tell you what, it gets addicting. It's like one of the best addictions ever is the sunrise, because you see every sunrise is different. It's so beautiful. It's just like, it brings in just a level of gratitude for the day. It releases serotonin, dopamine. Yeah, Shay, I'm hooked on sunrise. Took away joint pain. I get amazing sleep, loads of energy, more productive days. It took away, I remember this, Shay, her mom literally went out, and after a couple days, like her depression, and then she stopped doing it, started feeling depressed again. It's that powerful. So just start doing it this week as many times as you can. All right. The first goal is to get the food dialed in. That is your first goal. As many times as you can make it out this week, try, I would say 3 times at least, minimum, get out this week. 3 times at least. The more you can do it, the better. And then we'll talk more about it on Monday, this next Monday. This is about your cortisol. Anybody have issues with cortisol? Yeah, you want to learn how to reprogram your cortisol? That's the sun. And I'm going to teach you all how to do that. Okay. But sunrise is part of that. So the more you do it, the more you're going to get on track for doing that. So these are all pieces of the puzzle, right? Food is one piece of the puzzle. Mindset's another piece of the puzzle. Sun's another piece of the puzzle. Sleep is, and movement. And we're going through all these pieces so we can put together this puzzle for you. But I want to make sure, that's why I want to take this today to make sure this huge piece with food, right? The puzzle, that we get this dialed in so that you all get the results that I know you want. So low stress now. Yeah. If you got stress in your days, sunrise, 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 sunrise. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to say, oh, Shay, she made a deck on the side of their house, literally just built a deck for sunrise. That's how much it's had an impact on her life. I saw that post of her. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I love that. Yep. So it is, and we're not told these things, right? So these are these things that are going to literally, they will change your life if you do these things. I guarantee it. It has changed mine. It's changed so many other women that I've talked to. And here's the thing. I'm like, there are so many doctors and practitioners now that are realizing what they've done over the years of like surgeries and sinus and all these things that they've done, like to the patients, are like, wait a second, there's something bigger here. This is a metabolic issue. All of the issues, the diseases, it's a metabolic dysfunction. And this will fix that for you. So I had a client in my first group, and she had high blood pressure for majority of her life. She had to adjust her meds. So if you're on meds for these things, like, pay attention to that, because if you follow this, your chances are you're gonna have issues with, your blood sugar is gonna go down if you're monitoring that. Your blood pressure, if you got blood pressure issues, it's gonna go down. And so thyroid as well too. If you're on thyroid meds, make sure you're monitoring those things and working with your doctor, your practitioner around that, because I can't give you advice on meds, but I can just tell you that it's probably going to shift if you really do this and really commit 100%. And how amazing, right, would it be to be able to possibly be off some meds if you guys are on meds? So, let's get ourselves empowered by our health, and so that we can have the confidence to really live like however many years we got left, right? I mean, my goal is 110. I told my kids that. So we'll see. Yes, Kay. Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. Sorry. All right. I hope I covered everything. I hope I really cleared anything up that was hazy and a gray line. And I apologize for that. So again, we have an extra week in this. So this is a restart. Let's get this going, and let's post again, once a day meals, post in the group. The more you're engaged in the group, the better results you're going to get. And let's support and lift each other up as well too. And if I take down any posts in the group today of food, just know that it's not personal. It's just because we're clearing this up and we don't want any confusion around anything. And we're learning here as we go, and I love it. And if there's any questions that you have, please put them in the group, because if you have the question, I guarantee somebody else has it too. All right. Thank you for hanging on a little longer than normal today. I appreciate it. I'm so glad that we were able to do this today. And any more questions as we close out? Any other? I didn't see from Kathy if she.
I switched from my phone to my computer screen, so I don't know, it won't let me video or whatever.
Okay.
So I guess I was very confused with all the food, because I thought we could have lettuce and stuff, and I've been having taco salads, and so
Kathy, let me pause you there. Did you watch the whole video from Monday?
from last time, no.
That's why. So you were in my previous group, and so that's why
Right.
I shared with you. It shifted that you need to watch the video. It's all in there.
Well, I only got portion, and that's why I jumped on again today. And so this kind of helped clear up a lot of different misconceptions that I had. So
if you have any issues around numbers, your numbers, go back to last week's video. I walk through every single thing so that you know exactly what your fat target is, what your protein target is.
Well, I figured that out, I think on this week and, but with the loose stools, I've had that the whole time.
Okay.
So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, not doing, you know. So that's where I'm at.
It's hard for me to answer that when I don't know everything that you've been,
Right.
yeah.
So, but I don't want to take out any more time and stuff, but this was very informative and stuff. So,
Beautiful. Well,
and I will say the sun is I've always said I'm solar powered and I truly mean it. And I've been like that all my life, but I have really, really focused on making sure I get in the sunlight, and the sunrise and the sunset is my heartbeat.
yeah, Kathy does a good job with that. She goes on bike rides every morning or like just getting out, and she posts really beautiful pictures too. So when you guys go out this week, at least your 3 times, post them in the group. Post them in the group. Shay says, my glucose levels are going down. I was averaging around 130 to 160 daily. Now I'm 105 to 115 daily. Shay didn't even realize that there was a insulin issue with her until she was in my group. And then we caught that, and now she's able to reverse it. So that's the thing. Most Americans have insulin issues to some degree. So we have to turn the bus around. And that's what we're doing here. We're rebooting. So, all right. Yes, you are welcome, Kay. He said, thank you. Yes. Beautiful. Again, takeaways. Let's just put a takeaway. Each of you just put a takeaway in the chat, and then we'll hop off. Just want to make sure. Like a takeaway could be like, what are you going to do this week that maybe you didn't realize? Or like a takeaway of like, oh, I didn't realize that. Or something that you had an aha about, or something that you learned about that now you can put into practice. Drop them in the chat. More clarity, more meat, more fat, Kathy.
I can do that.
Beautiful. Electrolytes. Yes, yes, yes. Water alone does not hydrate. Yes. If I can drive home, water alone does not hydrate. It just runs through us. Continue learning more from the group and podcast. Yes, absolutely. 0 carbs, not even my strawberries and blueberries. Freeze them. And also, I'm not getting enough electrolytes. Yeah, I just ordered the Ultima. Yeah. If you don't want to mess with, just order, make it easy on yourself. It's like $40, I think, for 90 servings. It's tasty. I have it in here. I have 2 of these in my, that I carry around with me for the day. I'll get my sunrise days in and add walking, more water with electrolytes and salt. Yes, sun. Challenge myself to wake up with the sun. Beautiful. Awesome. All right. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here today. And I'm so excited to see the results that you all are going to be having. We already had, so many of you have already had so many results. And even if you haven't had like the scale results, I know a few of you are like, and some of you I know haven't even started yet this week. You're going to start again this week. So beautiful, right? You get an extra week. So many non-scale wins as well too. And those are so important as well too. So this is not just focusing on the scale. This is focusing on our optimal health, which will result in a scale change as well too. But non-scale successes are so important too. More energy, clothes fitting better, more confidence, right? Like enhanced mood, less digestion issues, things like that. So if you struggle at all, I know I've said this so much before, but I'm driving, get added support if you need it. You don't have to do this alone. As women, we try to talk ourselves out of getting support. I don't need it. I don't need it. If you need it and you find you're not having the results that you want and you're still confused in any way, shape, or form this week, reach out to me and we set up a session, because that's the way we can tweak this, because health does become individual when we got individual stuff going on. And that's what we can address on any kind of, session that we have, any kind of one-on-one call. So, all right. I will be excited to see how you guys are all doing this week, and to see your meals this week, and at least 3 sunrises this week from all of you. So excited about that, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.